Hey guys, thanks for tuning into our first podcast here. This is LAGCast. I am Drewid and this is Alt.
Hey y'all.
We're going to start in by talking about what this channel is all about. So we are the League of Apparent Gamers. Alt, take it away.
We are here to pretty much try and bring you some entertainment in the best way that we can. We're going to be talking about many different things, current, past, future. We're just going to pretty much try and pick out some things that we think that you might enjoy listening to because we enjoy the media that we sink our lives into. So, speaking of that, Druid, what do you got on the books?
So I've been working on the Dark Souls playthrough. Some of you might have already seen that. I also have a little bit of Darkest Dungeon content up there. I may do more of that in the future. Goal right now is to get most of the Dark Souls project done, get ready for the new Dark Souls Remastered, which we'll talk about a bit later, and got some other ideas down the works.
Nice. Yeah, so I'm currently waiting for Dissidia to come out, and I'm going to play the crap out of that and record, so I'll have a lot of YouTube content and stuff to talk about. As far as Dissidia goes, I'll also be diving into the Dark Souls Remaster, and I am also currently doing a Kingdom Hearts video walkthrough.
Now, you said you pre-ordered Dissidia, right? Do you get anything special with that?
A soundtrack with 5 songs.
Oh, well, that's something at least.
Yeah, and it's apparently from the arcade version in Japan. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I remember listening to some of those songs when the game was first announced on YouTube, and they're pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was nifty, but you don't get to listen to the songs until the game gets unlocked, so there's that.
That's all right. Well,
so I don't know how they sound right now.
Yeah, that's okay. So, all right. So, do we want to start talking about Dark Souls Remaster then?
Yes, let's do that.
Alright, so Dark Souls Remaster, this was actually announced less than a month ago. It looks like it's going to come out on the 25th of May. It's basically just a remaster of the original game, going to have updated graphics, and surprisingly it's going to be on the Switch, which is like the big news for everybody. It's going to be a handheld Dark Souls experience. So how do we feel about that?
I'm excited for the Switch version, but I think the big news in general was that it was getting remastered. Because Dark Souls is one of those games where, in their own right, every game is fantastic, but the big cult following comes from Dark Souls 1. That's where everybody wants the series to go back to. So when they announced this, everybody got hype.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right there. Definitely was a lot of people's first game of the series. I played Demon's Souls first, but Dark Souls was just polished, way more polished than Demon's Souls was. Had a lot more content going on, a different take on it and everything, and really brought everybody together to start playing it, and that's why the online community thrives so much on it. People still go back and play it. I know the Dark Souls Reddit has a yearly event, basically on the anniversary of the game's release. Everybody comes back and starts playing again, and it's an excuse to have more people playing online, have more invasions going on, basically kind of revive the game, at least for a month or two.
Yeah, I've participated a couple times. I will say that I find I'm decent at this game, but when I participate in those events, these are the people that eat, sleep, and breathe this game, and I get wrecked every time.
Well, Kevin, or Alt, you gotta get good.
I do gotta get good, but I'm just a noob, so there's that.
That's right. I'm not too great at PvP either, but it is enjoyable sometimes. So just to get into some of the specs on this again, it is coming to the Switch. Looks like it's going to run on 720p for people that care about that stuff on the handheld mode, and for TV mode it's going to run at a full 1080. The game's set to run at about 30 FPS on Switch as well, and for online play, this is for all the systems, it's going to actually have up to 6 players instead of the original 4 players max, so it's going to be more like Dark Souls 3, where you could have multiple invaders, multiple summoners going along and have really big battles and stuff.
Yeah, I find that very interesting, mainly because I'll get to play with more people, but also that leads me to believe that they're not leaving anything else untouched. I feel like if it was a fault to the original game, they're going to look into it and see if there was a minor way to fix these problems.
I mean, yeah, if they're going to go to the trouble of doing the remaster, I hope they do improve on a lot of stuff. Like, there were parts that were a little glitchy. I know just as I've been playing through it again recently, I just finished up the recording for everything. There's parts where there's, like, invisible walls almost on stairways and pathways you would expect to be very smooth, but you get caught on it, and you almost have to do, like, a jump to get over it, and you almost fly off the ledges and stuff because of how the walls through the gaps set up. But hopefully little things like that will get patched up.
Yeah. And then there's always Blighttown. I'm excited to see Blighttown on a console that doesn't, like, break the console.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think everybody's first Dark Souls experience was Xbox 360 or PS3, and it was a laggy mess on both. I had the 360 version. Buying it on Steam later, it ran a lot smoother, but...
With the unofficial mod.
Ooh, yeah, okay. I mean, because of course I use that because I want it to run at, higher than 30 frames per second, which looks so nice with it. Which that's another thing. On the PS4, Xbox One, and PC version, it is going to run at a 60 FPS at least. And for the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, it's looking to have upscaled 4K resolution. PC, of course, will have native 4K, and then by default 1080p. So all the specs on it look really good.
Yeah, I got a PS4 Pro, and that's where I'm buying it.
Nice.
I know you said that you were going to buy it on the Switch, and you also mentioned you were going to get it on PC as well.
Yeah, probably initially I'll get it on PC, but whenever I get around to getting a Switch, I will probably buy it again, or whichever happens first, basically. If I get a Switch first, I'll probably buy it on the Switch first.
Yeah, but there's not going to be anything quite like taking Dark Souls on the road with you.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just pop that up at work and play it. It is looking like the game is going to cost $40 for all versions, so that'll be nice. I don't feel as bad about having to buy it twice, or wanting to buy it twice, I should say.
Right, and I almost feel like I need to buy it twice for the PS4 version and then the PC version as well, Steam. Yeah. Just because, how else am I gonna gank you, bro?
All right, we'll see.
We're coming at you. Speaking of the Dark Souls remaster, so when you play Dark Souls, there's always this itch to kind of have a certain play style. Are you going to break that trend, or are you going to go back to familiar ground?
I think I'm going to try something different, and I keep referencing back to the playthrough I'm doing now because that's most recent in my memory, but I did basically a pants only and whatever weapon I felt like using run, no shields or anything, so I rocked the broadsword for 90% of the game, just wore like the shadow leggings, ninja pants. I'm probably going to do a more traditional outfit, but probably try some different weapon styles and stuff because I want to see the new stuff, but I also want to try out new things and experience new things. I've done a ton of different kinds of builds with the game. I've done the spellcaster build, I've done the miracle user, the pyromancy, the heavy hitter, the tank. Might try to do something different. I even did a run where I mostly used a bow, and it was actually pretty fun to get back and shoot down the enemies and stuff before they can get to you. I'd also like to maybe work with you and whoever else we get on the channel to do some co-op runs potentially.
Yeah, definitely. That is something that I'm vastly interested in. Go ahead.
I was going to say, there's nothing quite like Dark Souls co-op runs. It's much more fun when you get invaded because, it feels unfair, but, they're invading you, so they're prepared for whatever they get.
Right.
Me and a friend of mine back in the day played through Dark Souls 2, the entire game, co-op. Basically, we're both rocking, dual-wielding characters. He was a strength one, so he had the two giant clubs. I had the Murakamos, so I was more of a dex-based character. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, speaking of Dark Souls 2 real quick, I have never actually really played that game.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so that is also future content that you can look forward to is Alt's first time through, what is it, Dranglick?
Yeah, Dranglick. I forgot.
Yeah.
Almost forgot. Yeah, and I'm planning to get to that one eventually, maybe after the remastered Dark Souls 1. We might look to do a joint videos or something on it, but definitely should get a video or two of you just, hey, this is my first time playing it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, there is, I will say I got something spoiled for me that I'm really happy for, because I did play the first couple hours. So it's not something that I've never touched before,
Oh.
but I have played, I believe, a couple hours in. I got killed quite a few times. Don't go into the Covenant of the Champions. That is...
Oh, yeah, that one.
That was my very first introduction to Dark Souls 2, was, hey, look, Champion of Covenant of Champions, I'm going to do that, and it didn't end well, so...
Yeah, I've never actually tried that. That might be something to give a try, now that you bring that up. Really, that game has a lot of depth and elements to it. I mean, I don't want to, gush too much about it, but, one of the things I love about it is the New Game Plus actually has, legitimate changes. There's new enemies, some of the bosses change up a little bit. I know this is a Dark Souls 1 thing, but in Dark Souls 1, the DLC area, the first boss you fight is the Chimera. In the New Game Plus, there's 2 of them. And of course they're stronger, so I never actually was able to kill them in New Game Plus.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm excited for it, just because also somebody explained to me the bonfire aesthetics, which can give you the New Game Plus boss fights before you're actually in New Game Plus, and so yeah, that's very interesting to me, just because you can get better rewards for making things harder for yourself.
Yeah, no, that was always a really cool mechanic. Like I said, the game has a lot of depth. It made teaming up a lot easier, because there's a ring you can buy very early on that lets you pick basically a god to represent, and if you represent the same god as another player, you're much more likely to be linked up with them, so it makes it really easy to do co-op.
Not quite as easy as hey, here's your friends list, who do you want to play with?
For a Dark Souls game, it was much easier. Oh yeah, I remember in Dark Souls 1, pretty much every time we tried to link up, we had to restart the consoles and stuff, because it would set you to a certain server when you first loaded up the game. So you had to basically restart completely and then load up. It took 10 minutes to get 3 of us to team up or do anything initially.
That sounds so horrible.
I
never really got into Dark Souls 3 PvP or co-op or anything like that, just because when I first played it, I didn't have internet, so I didn't get the added bonus of all of the nifty little notes and stuff.
Yeah, they definitely make the game much more interesting. Even if you're not into the PvP, playing the game online is the best way to play it. You're going to get mad if you get invaded and get killed, but that's really about the experience, and it kind of teaches you to play better. I mean, PvP is a different beast than the PvE content, but it does make it more fresh and exciting every time you play.
Yeah, Dark Souls is one of those games about learning environment, learning patterns, learning movesets. Pretty much if you're not learning and adapting in that game, you're going to get wrecked. Oh yeah, so you got to learn everything, and then I lost it again.
You got to get good.
You got to get good. Yeah, definitely.
You just got to get good.
Absolutely. And if you don't get good, you get wrecked. And I have never broken a controller in my life, but Dark Souls has gotten me very close.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. The biggest thing that it frustrates me about when you die is just the walking back to the boss part. The first game was so bad about the long treks you had to do. Pardon me. The long treks you had to do to get back to a boss. I don't want to talk about the Bed of Chaos. Not that it's a hard boss, but walking back to it when you died was awful.
I actually have... Wait, is it Bed of Chaos? Which one's Bed of Chaos again?
That was the one that was like a tree, and you had to break through the branches and hit it in three different spots.
Oh yeah, that's right. Never mind.
And you would get swiped off the edge for nothing and just die.
Yeah, that one was frustrating. Which one is the big lava one? What is the Ceaseless...
Ceaseless Discharge?
Yeah, Ceaseless Discharge. I got very lucky on him. I didn't know that if you just ran back to the opening gate, he would jump across and then you could attack his hand and make him drop. I did this purely off of holy shit, there's a big guy here, I'm going to run. And when he jumped across, his hand landed right in front of me. I got a couple swipes and he fell, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Most worthless boss ever.
Yeah, the boss is really hard if you don't do that, but I don't really get like obviously it's not a glitch. It seems like an intended thing, but it just seems really odd. Like, hey, yeah, here's a little trick to make the boss a joke.
Yeah, like, and I've heard stories because I went up and looked online afterwards. I was like, there's no way that that's a Dark Souls boss. There's no way that is a Dark Souls boss and like it's that easy. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I mean, the bed of chaos, like I said, not hard. You actually, whenever you break one of the branches or the spots, it doesn't regenerate. So whenever you die and come back, you can just focus on the next point. So like you have to hit the point on the left, the right, and then go down the center. You can focus on one at a time and die as many times as you need to. So not really hard, just more of a gauntlet and exhausting and frustrating because of the long walk back to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Dark Souls, man, good memories. I'm excited for the remaster for sure.
Oh yeah, me too. So let's see. I think that should wrap it up for the Dark Souls talk. Do we want to talk about Dissidia? Since we got some videos on that already?
Yeah, we could definitely talk about Dissidia. This is one of those games I was actually looking into getting the Dragon Ball Z or Fighters game that just released. And between the two betas that came out, playing the Dissidia beta swayed me on my decision.
I gotcha.
That's how good I think it is.
Now, I've not tried either one yet. I do want to get both eventually. So, what made Dissidia so much better for you?
It's kind of a silly thing, but in fighting games, I love 2D fighters, 3D fighters, arenas, whatever. But any fighting game that has me hold the back button to block, it frustrates me because it makes me feel like I have to disengage. I can't continue to press because if I want to block, I have to back away from my opponent. And Dragon Ball Z, or that Dragon Ball Fighters game, has that mechanic. So it was just a little disappointing. Not that the game's not good; it's fantastic. I just don't enjoy those kind of fighters. But then I played Dissidia, and I had already played the first two on the PSP and loved them. This seems like a little bit more of a stripped down version as far as some of the RPG elements go, but it was a ton of fun.
Awesome, yeah. I mean, I'll definitely check it out. Hopefully they put up a demo or something.
I don't know if they're going to. I haven't heard anything about that. They typically do, though. They had demos on the PSP versions.
I mean, demos are kind of falling off the wayside, though, unfortunately. It's like rare if a game actually has a demo. It's more likely to have a pre-order bonus.
That, or they sell you the prequel for $30, like Ground Zeroes.
Yeah. Well, I know the new South Park game, you got the original game free with the pre-order, something like that.
That sounds like a good pre-order bonus.
Right.
That's some stuff I can get behind.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, on that note, I've never been a huge fan of pre-order bonuses for like in-game content because it just feels like it limits the audience if GameStop gets this map and Amazon gets this other map. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. I mean, unfortunately, most of the pre-order content is literally, let's take this little piece of the game, take it out, and okay, if you pay the $5 right now, you can have it. It takes away from it. I'd rather have like a complete package of a game, even if it's just some silly little bonus map or bonus weapon you can get.
Yeah.
I think it was Dark Souls 2 where if you pre-ordered it, you got like 5 weapon and shield sets that were decent weapons to start off with, much better than like a basic short sword. And in the actual game, you can get them, but they're not until like much, much later.
So it just kind of unlocked them early.
Yeah, which just felt really un-Dark Souls-y. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like prepare to die if you don't pay this money early.
Exactly. So that was kind of like weird at the time. I think I did pre-order it. Or no, I might have pre-ordered too late. Anyway, it was years ago, so we won't get into that. But yeah, so Dissidia looks pretty awesome. You're having a lot of fun with it, and excited for the release, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is unlocking at midnight tonight.
Oh wow, I didn't know it was that soon.
Yeah, it's literally the timer on my PS4. It's counting down.
Nice.
Yeah, the only thing that I can say, and I believe on my YouTube videos that I posted on the channel, I even put this kind of in the comments, they took out, like in the PSP versions, you used to have multiple different HP attacks that you could do. For instance, with like Cloud, you could have cross slash set up, and then if you held back and L and hit square, you could do like Meteor Rain. In the Dissidia NT version, you only have one HP move. So you kind of have to, if you want to knock somebody out, you kind of have to spam the same move over and over again if you're not catching them at the right moment.
Gotcha. Yeah, that feels kind of cheap then if you're just spamming the same move.
And part of the problem is like when you do your bravery attacks, pretty much each one of them ends with knocking your opponent away. So you're not in position to do an HP attack.
Yeah. Can you like cut them off early or?
I mean, you can like stop combos in the middle of them for the bravery attacks and try and like trip them up, but it doesn't seem like there's very many, like, I got you in this situation, so I can do this particular move. It's just, I'm going to hit the HP attack because that's all I can do right now. If I want to be offensive. I don't know. It's a good game. Like I said, it swayed me. I'm going to have fun with it. I'm excited for it. But those are some of my concerns.
Gotcha. Well, we'll definitely have to give it a more talk later after you play the full game and are able to dive deeper into it. Yeah, I remember the originals fondly. Definitely want to get the new one at some point. So, should be pretty exciting.
Right. And I do want to say, part of the reason why this game is so up there on my list of games that I'm excited to play is I'm a huge Final Fantasy nerd. So I've played and beaten every Final Fantasy, I think, except for 2 and 4.
Oh, nice.
As far as like the main games go.
Nice.
So
to expand on that, I actually just beat 6 for the first time. I think we had talked about this a little bit, but that was the last one I had to beat before 15, so I just need to get 15 now. And then I'm not counting the MMOs, of course, but I have played 14 a lot. But I'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, yes, we will. Yeah, so you haven't played 15 yet?
I have played the demo, but I have not picked the game up yet to play. Like, the full game.
Drewid, that's almost a crime.
I know. I was so hyped for it, when it was announced in 2006 as Versus 13, and I kind of fell off when, oh yeah, is it coming out this year? I haven't heard anything. Oh, now it's 15. Okay, well, about time. And just kind of, my hype died off, but I do want to get it at some point and play through it, especially with all the DLC now. I think I'm just going to wait for the Steam edition with everything, and then pick that up and play it then. And I'll, of course, do content on it, hopefully.
Actually, I'm kind of jealous. I'm actually jealous that you haven't played it yet. Just because when it first came out, that's when I played it. It didn't have all the extra story stuff that they've updated into the game. So a lot of the stuff that you're going to play when you first play it, it's going to make a lot more sense than what it makes to me. Because I haven't played it a second time yet.
So what you're saying is Final Fantasy 15 was an early access game and the DLC actually made it a whole game.
Yes. 100%.
See, unfortunately, that's so common anymore. It's ridiculous. But I mean, people look back at it, well, yeah, they finished it and it's great now, but the people at the time that bought it when it came out are just like, it's great, but it took 6 months to get it.
Yeah. It was disappointing just because, like, especially towards the end of the game, like the beginning of that game, the first like 75% of it, I was on board. Like, this was awesome. And then things started happening for literally no reason that like was not touched on. Nobody said anything, and people were just dead. Like, we didn't know why. It was bad.
Yeah, definitely have to talk about that again then when I finally give it a good look, and maybe we do like a Final Fantasy episode or something. Let's see. Do you want to wrap up Dissidia and move on to something else?
I real quick before we get off Dissidia, just did want to touch for anybody that hasn't heard of it or whatever. Essentially, you just play as for most of the games, they have the main antagonist and the main villain, or you know what I mean, hero, villain, and then
Yeah.
It's a 3 versus 3 arena fighter. So, but that was about it. Just kind of tell people what it was.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea to actually explain the games we're talking about a little bit.
Exactly. Next, I think you should tell me a little bit about Monster Hunter World.
Yeah, so Monster Hunter World, this is a game I'm pretty excited for. I know it came out like 2 or 3 days ago. There was a beta. I didn't get a chance to play it. I'm wanting to pick it up, though, as soon as I can. I'm a huge Monster Hunter fan. I've been playing since the PSP one. Freedom Unite was the one I got in on. Then I picked up the 3DS versions that came out. There was basically a redo of the Try game that was on the Wii. Then there was the fourth one, and then there was the Generations that came out on 3DS. And now they have Monster Hunter World. The big difference with this one is it's built to be open world, hence the name World. The older ones where you basically pick the hunt you want to do or the mission, you go and do it, and it's either hunt a monster or gather items or what have you. The whole premise of the game is your character doesn't level up, have stats, or anything like that. You kill monsters, collect their parts, make better gear. The gear is your progression. Doing the missions and unlocking new features for the villages and stuff you're in is also the progression. You'll end up building a huge catalog of different monster parts and items and combining them in different ways to make new items and learning the new recipes you can do. I think there's at least 12 weapons for the World game. They've had a couple that have gone in and out as the new games come out. A lot of different playstyle potentials. There's like sword and board, there's dual sword, great sword, several swords obviously. Axes, there's a couple unique ones called like the insect glaive or the hunting horn, which is actually like a giant horn, but it's also a hammer. Yeah. Big thing I'm excited about World is, like I said, it's actually open world, so there's a lot of exploration elements looking to it. It's like new ground for it, and it's going to have more open online play and stuff, so really excited for that. The original games I played a lot. There was 4-player co-op you could do, and I had a group of friends we would play a lot on, so that was like really great experience, has a lot of good memories for me. So open world is a really good game. Probably gushed a little too much about that, but here we are.
No, that's good. I've never actually played one for any extended period of time. On my Vita, they gave away Monster Hunter Freedom Unite for free, and I played like 2 hours of it or something.
I gotcha.
And never touched one again, but I've always kind of wanted to go back because everybody always talks about how awesome it is and stuff, but just never got around to it. And so I've been pretty interested. If my wallet was a little less stiff, I definitely would pick it up.
Gotcha. Now, I will say for people watching that have never played Monster Hunter, and for you as well, Alt, you can really get on any of them. There's no real story to it that's significant. It's like, oh, here's a big monster you're like slowly uncovering, and then you finally go and hunt it, and then, oh, there's the next big monster. It's kind of like the flavor of the week type thing. Freedom Unite, I would say, is the earliest one you would want to pick up and start, just because they have the cat mechanic, which makes the game easier and more manageable. Before, you didn't have a cat which would follow you around and help distract the monster and stuff. Before, it was just you, and the monsters are very aggressive. Made it very difficult to actually play certain play styles. Like there's ranged weapons like the bow guns and the bow. You couldn't play those very well because they were just aggressing on you the whole time. So you had to like get away, shoot them point blank, and yeah, the cats will actually distract them. So
single player wasn't really an option before the cat mechanic.
Right. Monster Freedom Unite gave you one cat. The Try remake and then fourth and everything since then has given you 2 cats. So even if you play online with like one other person, you each will still have a cat. The best way to play the game though is with a group of friends, or especially with World being online. I'm really hoping it'll have like more open lobbies where people can just be like, hey, I want to go hunt this, who wants to come along? And go and do it. Unfortunately, I'm talking mostly on speculation and the little tidbits I've seen. I'm trying not to spoil too much for myself until I get it. But yeah, if anything, I would say this is probably a good entry to start on. If you want to look at the more traditional ones, probably go with the 3DS one, probably the 4th Gen one.
Generations?
Or 4 Ultimate. Generations
4.
is different, not bad, but different. They added some new like skill mechanics and stuff to it that kind of are a little weird, and they took those away in World, so if you play Generations then play World, it may not transition well, but both are great games, so I'd recommend either one to you.
Gotcha. Well, I have my 3DS, and that's where every time I hop into the Nintendo shop there and I see Monster Hunter, my finger hovers over the button. But
yeah, and there's still demos for them too.
Right. I think on the 3DS you get to play it like 30 times.
Oh yeah, that was a weird thing they did, but like, who plays a demo 30 times unless you're, a kid that can't afford the new game? I mean, I get it, that's fine, do your thing. You just gotta delete it and re-download it if anything. Just because it's like a silly thing, I don't see the point.
Right, and I will say though, when I was younger, those Pizza Hut demo discs.
Oh man,
those got played a lot.
Did you play the Final Fantasy VIII one?
Final Fantasy VIII one, I played that one a lot because that was the storming the town mission, and then the Metal Gear Solid demo came in one of those as well.
Oh, I never played that one. Wasn't there a Tony Hawk one?
Yes, absolutely. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, man. The memories.
That was, forgot about that stuff. That was great.
Yeah, so I still don't get it for the Nintendo shop because, like you said, you can just delete the demo and then re-download it and get 30 more plays. But I will say that there were demos back in the day that got played.
Yeah.
Nowadays, my game library is too big to get to everything. So.
True story, man. All right. So, any more questions about Monster Hunter? Or do we want to wrap it up?
We can wrap it up on that. Actually, I had one more question. Can you fight each other, or is it simply just you like PvE co-op?
Unless they made changes to this one, it is all co-op. There are some weapons that will actually affect the other player. They won't damage them, but they could like stagger them and throw them off. So you do have to actively watch what you're doing. I know I used to rock a greatsword, and if one of my buddies was like right next to me when I'm doing a big swing, it will literally throw them into the air and interrupt their attack.
Sounds awesome.
And in the recent games, I've switched to a ranged style because me and my buddies, we all used to be melee, and it got a little crowded when we'd fight a monster. So I was like, well, hey, let me try a bowgun style or something. Certain shot types, if I hit an ally with them, it will just like stagger them, and they'll be like, and stop their attack.
And that makes nobody happy.
Exactly. It is hilarious though.
Yeah, it's definitely something I think I'm going to check out. But yeah, we can put a wrap to that.
All right.
Next, I definitely want to talk about the Final Fantasy VII remake.
All right, yeah, we'll touch on that, and that should wrap it up probably. So,
yeah,
Final Fantasy VII remake announced. What was it, last year, or the year before?
I think it was like 3 years ago now.
Was it that long ago? Yeah, I know. It was around the same time they announced Kingdom Hearts 3, wasn't it?
Yeah. Although I guess Kingdom Hearts 3's been in the works for a long time.
Yeah, I'm seeing some stuff that even like Final Fantasy VII is almost farther along than Kingdom Hearts 3, but maybe that's just the first episode, which, yeah, so let's get into it. Like, go ahead and tell us a bit more about it. I know you're a little more in the know on it than I am.
Right. Well, there's not much to be in the know on, though. They pretty much announced it with a 15-second, 30-second trailer of, I believe it was Sephiroth's voice that we were hearing. And then you get clips of Midgar, and it pretty much just ends up with the camera panning down. You see Cloud and Barrett walking. You don't see anybody's face or anything. It took quite a few months for us to get a second trailer, and this kind of gave us some story elements of the beginning of the game, showed a couple fight scene mechanics for the game. It all looked really good, crisp, like I'm super excited for it. But pretty much since then, it's been like tight-lipped. We haven't heard anything. But you were right about the first episode. So for anybody that doesn't know, which If you're looking at the Final Fantasy VII Remake, you probably know. But it is split up into 3 separate games. And Square Enix did say that each different episode is going to be as much content as we would expect from one of their games. So it's not going to be like the Telltale games where there's just not a whole lot there.
Or, a whole game segmented into 3 discs because there wasn't enough space on each disc.
Yes, that as well.
I'd like to relate it more to I don't know if anyone's heard of these. They're probably a little obscure, but the Dot Hack games, there was 4 episodes to them, and they were basically each a whole game. So, and you can kind of carry your stuff over. But that's kind of how I compare it to.
Yeah, I played the one, it was on PS2. I was playing as some kid with daggers, but I don't remember what it was called.
Yeah, that was the first one that came out. Then they made another one that apparently I think just got a remaster on PS4, so I might check that out because I never touched that series. But yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, Final Fantasy VII, going back to that, I have played the ever-living everything out of that game. And this was this announcement for me was the most hype I think I've ever gotten for something that doesn't really mean anything. I'm super excited. Tell me a little bit about your history with Final Fantasy VII.
Final Fantasy VII was my first Final Fantasy game. I remember when I was really young playing it. It took me hours to beat the Scorpion boss because I was 5 or 6 and just did not understand that, if you attack it when the tail's up, it lasers you and you die.
I'm not going to say that was your own confusion, because there is a typographical error in the game where they didn't punctuate the sentence. So Barrett literally tells you to attack it while its tail is up, when you're not supposed to.
Oh. Yeah. Again, though, it's been way too long, so I don't remember the specifics. But yeah, that's interesting. So, but yeah, that was when I first played it way back when. I didn't beat it until 4 or 5 years after I had initially played it because I just really didn't know what I was doing. I got towards the end and you're in the caverns at the end. Never actually got around to finishing it. I actually just in the last couple months finally killed Emerald Weapon for the first time.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was basically just oh, hey, I was doing the material all wrong, so I made a Knights of the Round spam and just cheesed it.
Yeah, that's one way. I have officially beaten Emerald with only one character. I went in there with the other 2 dead. Nice. Without the underwater materia as well. That was hard to do.
I bet.
And then Ruby is always a boss. A literal boss.
Yeah, Ruby, I remember, the best way to kill it was come in with 2 characters dead and just have Cloud spam Omni Slash, and that worked for me, so I did that.
That works to get rid of the tentacles, and then essentially you revive the other 2. This is how I do it. I go in, I use Omni Slash on the tentacles so that Ruby draws them out of the sand, and then I revive my other 2 members by using Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it gets back to Cloud's turn, every single time, I'm chugging hero drinks until his stats don't go up anymore. Because if you're not, Ruby has incredible defense and you're not doing any damage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you don't find a way through Ruby's defense, you're just going to be there for hours on end, running out of Phoenix downs.
Gotcha, yeah. I'm wondering how I actually killed it at this point, because I know I killed it, and I don't remember it being extremely hard once I tried that strategy, but yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Let's see. So, like you said, there's really not a lot to talk about with the remake right now. I mean, I'm excited for it. I'm really, really hoping it's good and at least somewhat faithful to the original. I know it's going to be pretty different, especially in gameplay. It looks more like Crisis Core style.
Yeah, just I hope they don't bring the slots back.
Yeah, no kidding.
That was the worst part of that game, is every time I did anything and the slots came up, you were just sitting there for 30 seconds waiting for it to finish.
Yeah, it's just a silly, unnecessary mechanic that threw everything off.
And wasted time.
Yeah.
Better than that, Crisis Core was good. But
oh yeah,
anyways,
did everything in that game. I 100%ed it. That last boss and the extra missions was crazy.
Yeah. It's a good game though.
Oh yeah.
That's why I'm kind of excited for this one, just because there's no way for Square Enix not to know that they have to succeed. If they fail this, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah. Let's see. Do we have anything else to touch on Final Fantasy VII? For the moment?
Nope. I think we're good for now. Anytime some news drops on it, I'll probably be the first one to try and get my hands on it. So
sounds good. So I think let's see. We could talk about Dragon Ball Super a little bit. Do we have any other like anime or movies or books we want to talk about? We might be reading.
I'm thinking about getting into Berserk.
I've heard that's really good.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a lot of the inspiration for Dark Souls, which is kind of what led me to it. So.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah, I'll have to go to look then, just because you said Dark Souls.
Yeah, and that's kind of what brought me to it as well. So apparently, the creator of Dark Souls, I don't know his name, but we'll put that in the show notes if we need to. Anyways, he built Dark Souls after getting into the Berserk manga that was over in Japan at the time, and that's kind of where a lot of the inspiration for the world came from.
Huh. I mean, with what little I've seen about Berserk, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah. Actually, I think Artorias is modeled after the Berserk main. I think his name's Guts.
Yeah, Guts.
Yeah. Artorias is modeled after Guts.
Oh, alright. So, let's see. So, you're going to start reading Berserk. I've been borrowing a book series from my cousin, or it's a comic book series called Deadly Class. It's by Rick Remender. Pretty good series so far. It's basically about this kid that something tragic happened to him, and apparently he had to kill someone or something. I haven't got to the details yet, but he gets roped into a school for assassins, and it's like people from all over the world, like, you know, your traditional ninja assassins and stuff, your mafia, your like southern, you know, stereotypical KKK members and white supremacists, things like that, and it's pretty neat so far. They kind of go on like a drug-fueled trip for revenge for one of the kids, and yeah, it's weird, but it's pretty interesting.
Sounds interesting. Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. Other than that, I have pretty much just been watching Dragon Ball Super.
Oh yeah, you said you just got caught up, right?
Yeah, like literally just watched the latest episode this morning.
Nice,
and
yeah.
Then that got me up to speed.
Nice. I've been caught up for a while. I did watch the new one yesterday evening. So hype, man. Like, I don't want to spoil it for people that haven't watched it, but so hype. But we do have sad news to say about Dragon Ball Super for people that haven't heard yet that are interested. It is ending in March, from what we understand. Apparently, there's no plans of yet for a continued series, but there is a movie in the works that is apparently going to touch on it's either the original planet Vegeta, or it's the Universe, is it 6 version with the other Saiyans?
Yes.
I think so, yeah. So it's going to expand a bit upon that from everything I've seen so far, but again, not a lot of details, but...
well, that makes sense, because, not to spoil a whole lot, but Kaba, Vegeta just promised him that when all this was said and done, he wanted to go see their planet, so...
Yeah. So that'll probably be what they do there. I imagine if they're going to set it anywhere in the series, and I doubt I don't know if it's going to be a continuation or not, like they did with the Battle of the Gods and Resurrection F, but it could be something where they dip that in maybe after that Universe 6 and 7 tournament.
Yeah, that's possible.
But definitely excited for that, though. I'm always happy for more Dragon Ball content. Hopefully with like the rise of Super now, we've got the Fighter Z. Hopefully some other new games come out that are maybe like the Tenkaichis. That would be pretty cool.
Or the Budokai Tenkaichi 4. Like, make it happen. Or just a remake of the third one, because that would also be amazing. Yeah. And everybody would be happy.
Now, see, I'm favorable towards the original Budokais versus the Tenkaichis, but I'm all about like anything that's good Dragon Ball games.
Yeah, and the original Budokai games had a block button, so
Yeah,
I like those.
that's true. The I've been trying to get back into the GBA ones. There's the series called Legacy of Goku. It was like a traditional kind of like run around and punch stuff and you level up stuff type game. It was really good for the GBA. They made a sequel, Legacy of Goku 2, and then I didn't know there was a third one. I just knew there was a Boo's Fury game that was also on the GBA, and I didn't know what it was, so I was like, I'll just leave this one be. But apparently it's a sequel, so I'm like, oh, well, I gotta go back and play that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I played those. For anybody that hasn't played them, think of the overworld graphics for like a GBA Pokemon game, and then apply the Dragon Ball Z skin to it, and that's Legacy of Goku.
Pretty much. Oh, that's another thing to bring up about Dragon Ball, since we're talking a lot about Dragon Ball. I think I showed you this one time at work, but there is a ROM hack for one of the Pokemon games that is basically Dragon Ball Z characters.
Yes.
So
and it looked amazing.
I played through it, and like at the start you pick either like adult Gohan, Vegeta, or Goku. As they level up, they evolve into Super Saiyan or like the Mystic Gohan, depending on who you pick. Eventually you can like catch the other characters and stuff, and they level up too. Not a lot of depth to it or anything, but like the Wandering Legendaries are like the Super Saiyan God versions of the characters. I got like Frieza has like 6 evolutions because he's Frieza.
Him and Goku, man. They're always trying to figure out who can transform the most.
Pretty much. Oh, yeah, but that was a pretty solid pick for anybody that might be interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah, and you just showed me for the Dragon Ball Fighters game that that like make it look like a Game Boy Advance game video.
Yeah, that looked kind of neat. Just something I caught when I was doing some research, but like if you set the settings low enough, it looks like a pixelated Dragon Ball game, and apparently it looks pretty classic, so something I might have to try when I get the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I was watching the video, man, and it looked really awesome. It kind of sparked my interest in the game again just to play it that way.
Let's see. So, anything else we want to touch on?
It's just the end of Dragon Ball Super, and that's kind of disappointing to me because what was the point of making the 2 Dragon Ball movies if you were going to spend 2 seasons of this amazing show just recapping what we've seen in the movies?
Yeah, I mean, there's over 100 episodes worth of it, though, so if anything, hopefully this is nothing more than a break. They're going to focus on the movie and then maybe come back to it with another series, but I don't think Dragon Ball is going to die anytime soon. Like, Super just gained way too much traction.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but I just don't want them to come out with a movie, and then when they start up the next series, I got to watch the movie again in 15 episodes.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, we'll see, I guess. I mean, hopefully, if anything, it's just kind of like a side story that doesn't matter, and when we come back, we get right back into it after the current arc or whatever might happen. I mean, a lot of people are still speculating on the end of Z stuff that happened where, like, Oob shows up and all that, but there's been no confirmation on, like, how that's going to play out.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, the series, like Dragon Ball Super, Season 1 and 2, which were just, like, the remakes of the movies, I found the episodes to do a better job, and I liked them better than I actually liked the movies. So I'm just saying that I would just prefer them not to make the movie and just spend that time to pump content into episodes for me to watch.
Well, yeah, that's if they're going to go that same route again. If anything.
True.
But, yeah. I had watched the movies first, and then I actually jumped into Super right after the movie arcs and didn't watch them until I came back around later. Yeah, I agree with you. They tell a better story. The movies are really good for just being a movie. The Frieza one was a little lackluster, but the arc of it actually expanded upon it a lot and made it more enjoyable. But Battle of the Gods was great on both ends, I thought.
Yeah, the only problem I have with the movie is if you actually really watch it, there's not a whole lot of action that goes on. Well, like, the beginning of it's got some, and then the whole middle of it is just this birthday party. And then there's, like, I think it's, like, 8 minutes of fight scene at the end.
That is true. I know like the arc, the series arc of it was just like 5 episodes almost of Beerus and Goku fighting, if not more. I can't quite remember, but
right.
Yeah. So it definitely had more action, and I see what you're saying. But I think they were also were just trying to like, hey, this is the first new Dragon Ball content in a long time, so they were kind of reintroducing people and building up to like the Super Saiyan God thing, and yeah. But no, I get what you're saying though. Definitely not as much action as there could have been for a Dragon Ball piece.
Exactly. And they also turned my Broly into a girl. That hurt. That hurt a little bit.
But they're such good characters though, so I'm not even mad about it.
No, it was fantastic character development, and I like how pretty much when she was Berserk is kind of how she looked like Broly, and then when she got control of her powers, she was more, streamlined, I guess.
She looked like Trunks.
Yes, that. I like, what is her name? Caulifla?
Yeah, Khalifa.
She is probably my favorite addition to the cast, besides Hit. Who doesn't love Hit?
Hit's pretty great, yeah. I know everybody's big gripe with the new Saiyans is that they're like, they learn the Super Saiyan forms and stuff way too fast. Like, Khalifa already getting Super Saiyan 2, just not even realizing what she's doing, people weren't happy with, but it's not really about that. It's to kind of show her catching up because she's a prodigy, but really, if you shouldn't go into Dragon Ball Z, like, over-analyzing and overthinking it, because it just doesn't work.
Well, I mean, in this situation specifically, it actually does work, because in the show, they literally talk about how she has this limitless potential, and all she needs to do is see something or, like, barely, like, learn it for the first time, and she can master it. That was kind of her hidden talent, was being able to adapt and learn at such a quick pace, and that's even what Goku said. So
right, and it's not so much that they don't explain it, it's this that it feels kind of cheap and unfair to like, hey, here's these Saiyans we watched for years that went through crazy struggles to get their new powers and stuff, and she learns it in like 2 seconds. That's why like fans at least are kind of taken aback by it. But I get on the DBZ Reddit from time to time, which is like a questionable option at best, but there's a lot of people that are just like overly analyzing and overly upset about every little thing. People asking like fan theory questions that's about stuff that doesn't really matter, and I don't know. It just bugs me sometimes reading it. But really, if you enjoy the series, then do your thing.
Right. Well, I mean, I'll argue that point too, just because, for instance, when I go out and try and do something for the first time, it doesn't really go well. I have to learn how to do it. But once I've learned how to do it, I can teach somebody else how to do it relatively quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So,
like, yeah, Goku and Vegeta and all them, they had to struggle to get to these points, but they know what they had to do to get there. It's like when you see Kaba become Super Saiyan for the first time, it's because Vegeta, he knows that he has to tap into his anger. Yeah. So he beats the crap out of him and insults his family.
Yeah, no, I mean, they do it in a good way, I think, but and I will say Super does a lot better job, at least from my memory, of actually kind of explaining what's going on in a reasonable way compared to like Z.
Yeah, Z didn't care.
Yeah, Z was just raw power. Super was more about technique, and which I thought was great. There's like, especially the current arc, the Tournament of Power, there's lots of cool techniques and strategies going on. It feels more like original Dragon Ball, where it was less about how strong is Goku, more of like, hey, does he know this technique, or this is how this person fights, so causes him to think.
Right. Yeah, I'm on board with that. I will say that Dragon Ball Z was the best 20 minutes of my life while I got yelled at. Like every week, if my mom didn't yell at me enough, I could just turn on Dragon Ball Z and
it filled that itch for you.
Yeah, it'd feel right at home. So
oh, that's a good one. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's about everything for today, unless you have anything else to add.
No, I don't think we have anything any other topics to cover. Just to further talk about what we're going to be doing here soon. I'm going to be trying to get more of that Dark Souls content out. Maybe looking at some other project ideas I have in the works. I know you were working on are you working on more Dissidia content then, since it's coming out tonight?
I will be tonight. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I mean, if you're good, I think we can wrap it up here.
Yeah, so future things, like we talked about earlier, to look forward to more Dissidia content. I've got Kingdom Hearts coming out. I did forget to mention earlier that I have recorded quite a bit of content for my Dark Souls 3 PvP series, The Adventures of the Moonlight Knight. That is a series in which I pretty much built a character solely for the Moonlight Greatsword, and even the sorcery I use is from Dark Eater Midir, where you summon the Moonlight Greatsword to do its wave as well.
Oh yeah, I remember you kind of telling me about that. Yeah, so definitely get that done and post it around. That'll be pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, that, and then there's a couple other things in the works. I'm also trying to get started a Metal Gear Solid Pods of the Patriots podcast, in which we go through the Metal Gear Solid franchise. I've pretty much already got episode 1 of that recorded, and that will be posted soon.
Awesome, yeah.
Other than that, you can find me on Twitter at Alteridin. That is ALTERIDIN. And you can find our... Well, we'll get into that here in a second. What are you doing, Drewid?
Oh, yeah, so... Okay, yeah, so I'm going to be working on the Dark Souls content. Like I said, I got all the recording done for the first game. So I'm going to be trying to work through that, hopefully get it all done and posted before the remaster comes out. Then I'll touch on the remaster. If I can get it done early enough, I probably am going to try to start on my Dark Souls 2 run. I do plan to go through Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and then maybe go back to Bloodborne and maybe Demon Souls, if I feel like it at that point. But yeah, I have other content I have ideas for besides just Dark Souls and Souls games, but still fleshing out what I want to do with that.
Yeah. I'm excited to see them. I know the videos you've got up so far I've watched, and they're pretty good. You got good.
Yeah, there's some parts where I'm pretty bad though. So and I don't edit out my deaths. So I want people to see, hey, you're gonna die. Look how much I died. I suck at this.
Right. That's kind of what I did with Dissidia too. Whether I scored, first on the scoreboard or sixth, which is dead last, it made it on the video. So,
well, guys, thank you for watching our first episode of LAGCast. We're going to go ahead and call it a wrap here. This was episode 1, like I said, on January 29th, 2018. Hopefully we'll get this out within the next few days and give it a look and a listen. We can be reached at facebook.com/League of Apparent Gamers. We also have a Twitter at LOA Gamers. Our YouTube, we're going to have a link in the description, depending on whatever outlet you watch this at. And then we have a Twitch channel called Lag Network.
Yes, and then also I just want to kind of put it out there. We also have a Patreon. You can support the network. A couple dollars here and there. That just allows us to bring you more content and make our content better. That is patreon.com/lag network. So that's the same as the Twitch account. That always helps. And then also, wherever you're listening to this from, whether it be iTunes, Google Play, or any other media outlet, just be sure to drop us a review. If we get any reviews or anything, I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about them. Give you guys your moment in the spotlight. Plus, we enjoy reading that. Also, if you want to give us a bad one, that will only help us improve as well. So, other than that, I think we are good to go. And I've been Alt.
And I am Drewid.
And thank you for listening to the LAGCast. Have a good night.
See you guys next time.